What if Steven Universe X Dragon Ball Z Part 4? Frieza's spaceship travels through space and eventually arrives on Earth. Out steps Frieza, now as Mecha Frieza. He's like, greetings, I'm blowing this planet up. Steven Shield. Frieza's cut in half, and Steven is disappointed that it ended like this. Later. The city is on fire and we see Dr. Gero and Android 19 there. The crystal gems rush onto the scene and Gero commands 19 to attack. Garnet catches 19's hit, but then he starts absorbing her energy, taking away her gauntlets. Garnet is left weakened. Suddenly, a Steven shield to the face. Steven has arrived and he warns him to leave, but Gero's like, 19, destroy his shield! 19, stop him right now, Steven shield! Android 19 was defeated. Steven's like, I warned you, now it's your turn. Steven takes a few steps, but he suddenly collapses. The gems are taken aback, and Dr. Gero takes this opportunity to leave. Steven's like, don't worry about me, go after Gero. And the gems listen, and then decide to follow after Dr. Gero. Gero flies into his lab, and he's like, I must do this. And he activates the machine, and then Android 17 and 18 appear. Gero's like, attack those gems! Ah! Android 17 kills Dr. Gero, leaving the crystal gems stunned. The androids are like, we're gonna have fun with you, as they rush at them. They fly over and take Garnet and Pearl out of the laboratory. They're knocked down, and Amethyst is shocked. 17 is like, how about we make it a fair 3-on-3? And they activate Android 16's pod, releasing him. He's stoic, and he's like, primary objective, eliminate Steven Universe. These are not the target, we must go. And so, they leave. In a desolate city, a new threat is lurking in the shadows. At Steven's house, Steven has been resting when there's a noise outside. He's startled, and then sees the androids landing outside his house. The crystal gems warp back, and they run over and confront the androids on the beach. They face off, but suddenly, Cell makes an appearance. He lands down on the beach, faces them, and then charges at them. He attacks Android 17 with a flurry, and then strikes him in the chest, knocking him down. Then he clashes with Android 16, and manages to overpower him. The androids fire at K-Boss at Imperfect Cell, but he fires off a special beam cannon, only to be blocked by a barrier. He raises his hand, and then yells out, Solar Flare! He attacks Android 17 in the blinding light, leaving him weak, and then absorbs him. Cell begins to transform, and finally, he emerges as semi-perfect Cell. The gems are shocked at the power. Cell's like, 18, you're next. The gems and the androids team up and they rush at Cell. 18 hitting him with a flurry of attacks. He's unfazed at all, as a trident stabs him, but he's like, it's got it. Garnet and 16 strike him, but he retaliates with a punch, sending them flying. And then he's like, Solar Flare! Cell goes over to Android 18, but he stopped. He looks down to see Amethyst blocking him, but he charges up the Q gas and fires it at her. With no one left to interfere, he absorbs Android 18 and begins transforming into Perfect Cell. The gems are worried with what to do. He had already outclassed the gems, and now he was stronger, and so he left. Garnet and Pearl were worried on what to do, so they retreated for now. Back at Steven's house, the group reunited with Steven and told him what happened. The TV in the room turned itself on. Cell appeared on it, and he was like, "I will hold the Cell game, be there or die," and he left. Steven and friends were now faced with a deadline. Steven's like, "Garnet, we're going to train together. Pearl, watch over those two." Steven and Garnet left and arrived at the lookout. They both headed to the door and entered the hyperbolic time chamber. Steven looked around the vast area, and Garnet's like, "Steven, I need you to fight me with everything you got." And so, Steven and Garnet squared up, charged at each other. Meanwhile, Cell was busy constructing the arena for the Cell games. Later, Steven and the Crystal Gems had finished their training, and then they set off and arrived at the Cell game. Steven was worried about to win this, while the Crystal Gems look up and see Perfect Cell already standing in the ring. He's like, "Come up, one of you or all of you." Steven steps up onto the ring and faces off against Perfect Cell. He powers up and transforms into Pink Steven and charges at him, knocking him with a shield, but Cell strikes him back with a punch. They create some distance, and then Steven charges at him, but blocks the punch. But then Steven blocks his punch. Cell kicks Steven away, but Steven shields and Cell on the face. He readies his arm, throws his Steven shield through Cell, leaving him in pain, and he's like, "Not bad at all." Shield! Girl! Oh! Cell is not backed, but he sees Steven charging towards him, and they both collide with each other. Cell's like, "Alright, no more limitations." He flies up, then he forms a key blast in his hand. Steven realizes what he's planning to do. The whole arena shakes as Cell explodes, and Steven protects himself with a bubble, but the gems were impacted by the large explosion. So it's like, "Now we can fight without restriction." Steven's mad at his recklessness, and they charge at each other. Cell fires his blast at Steven, but he blocks them with his shield. He throws a punch, but it gets blocked. He tries again, but he gets struck in the face. The two clash with each other, engaged in a fierce struggle. Neither side wanted to back down, as their power shakes the whole arena. They're locked tightly. And then Steven punches Cell in the chin, and Steven's like, "I'm sick of this," as he grabs and throws Cell into the air, before slamming him into the ground and throwing a Steven barrier at him. It grows larger and eventually disintegrates Cell. The Crystal Gems are shocked. Steven is fatigued from using all of his power, but suddenly, Cell stands up and regenerates his body completely. The Crystal Gems are shocked at this, and Cell's like, "As long as one Cell survives, I will always regenerate." As he charges him, he strikes Steven in the face, before Steven kicks him back, then fires a barrier, only to be blocked by Cell's own barrier. Cell looks around and notices that the gems have just been watching, so he's like, "Why don't they join in on the fun?" He begins to birth out the Cell Juniors. The Crystal Gems figure out what Cell's up to as they charge at the gems. Steven's worried that as he sees Amethyst getting kicked, Garnet getting punched, and Pearl getting stomped. Steven's getting frustrated watching the scene and tries to punch Cell, but it gets stopped. Cell knocks Steven away into the ground. He's tired and hurt. He stands above Steven, looking down on him, before extending his hand and firing a blast at Steven. Steven looks up and sees something awful. The Cell Juniors hold the gems hostage. And Steven's like, "Let them go." As he rushes to them, the cell knocks him back down. Steven is in distress and doesn't know what to do, but suddenly, 16 jumps onto Cell and grabs him, and begins to blow himself up. But Cell stops him with a key blast. He's like, pathetic, that won't work on me. Steven is in turmoil. 16's head lands, and he's like, Stevenverse, please protect the birds that I love so much. Awakened into being Steven 2. Cell is taken aback by the power as Steven charges in, and Cell's like, he's fast! Punches one Cell Jr., kicks the other, and tears apart the other. He kneels down and collects the gems safely. Cell's like, oh, this is getting interesting. Strikes Cell in the face, knocking him back significantly more, and he tries to hit back only to get blocked. Cell lands down and powers up. He's getting more and more frustrated as he charges himself up to attack Steven with a fierce kick that is blocked by Steven, and then he strikes Cell again, leaving him tired and desperate. He charges up his destructor disc and throws it. Steven conjures up his barrier and blocks the attack. But then Cell fires a special beam cannon, and Steven dodges it and hits Cell in the stomach, leaving him breathless and in pain. Cell's like, I'm sick of this! Kamehameha! Cell fires a Kamehameha, and Steven stands his ground. He summons his barriers and fires it back at the wave. It travels closer and closer, getting bigger and stronger, eventually engulfing the entire blast. Cell is horrified as the attack reaches him and eventually consumes him. Cell has survived. When he regenerates his body once more, he's like, I'm sick of you! And he powers up to buff Cell. He lands down and faces Steven and goes to hit him, but Steven dodges the attack. He tries again, but also misses. Steven jumps behind him and delivers a powerful punch, as well as a kick to the stomach, making Cell kneel and drop Android 18, causing him to lose power and revert back to semi-perfect Cell. Meanwhile, the gems have formed back and run to the scene. They're shocked to discover that Cell is in his second form, visibly weakened. Steven's like, leave, you can't win this, Cell. Cell's like, no, I won't lose. Cell grows to an enormous size, and he's like, I'm blowing this planet up. Steven is shocked. And Cell's like, if you attack me, I'll explode. Ah! Steven gets angry and he flies to Cell and carries him off. Steven has a plan on what to do with him, and the gems can only believe in him. They warp to the geode. And Cell's like, ah, it's too late, you'll die with me, ah! Cell explodes. Steven has made it back safe and sound, and the gems are happy to see him. Stevenverse and the crystal gems have saved the day once again. Scarlet senses something and hits Steven away, and then she's shot by a key blast. They look in horror as they see super perfect Cell alive. Steven's like, Cell, how are you alive? Cell's like, as far as a key blast. which headed towards Ruby and Sapphire's gems. Steven rushed to stop it. He summoned his shield, and it broke and launched Steven back. He was tired, and Cell's like, I am much stronger now. It's time to end this. As he charges up his Kamehameha wave, he's like, your time ends now! Amen! Amen! Prepare to die! Steven watched in exhaustion, but he still mustered up a final barrier to fire in retaliation. So it's like, this is nothing, which infuriated Steven. Steven was struggling to push back Cell's Kamehameha. He was mustering everything he could to push through when suddenly Cell was struck from behind by Pearl. He's like, grr, don't interrupt, test! As he powers up, pushing Pearl away with his aura. Cell continues firing his blast, but then he's whipped from behind repeatedly by Amethyst. He's like, grr, I'm sick of you all! Enough! Cell continues dominating the clash. As he is about to push forward, he turns around and is like, oh shit! Alexandric fires his flames at Cell, damaging him greatly and allowing Steven to push forward and push his barrier through, engulfing the beam, growing larger and larger and larger, eventually disintegrating Cell, killing him once and for all. Steven is left exhausted from the battle, and he collapses to the ground, now with a peace of mind. And so, Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl, and Steven have saved the day once again.